Welcome along to another episode of Off the Leash, brought to you by the Racing Post in association with Premier Greyhound Racing, episode 80. Can you believe it? 80, episode 80, and another big final to preview this week, the £10,000 Coral Gold Collar Decider on Sunday afternoon at Hove. We'll also have a little peep in on the £20,000 Premier Greyhound Racing Classic and pick that one up a little bit deeper. The semi-final stage next week. As ever, open race correspondent from the Racing Post, Tony Bullen, joins us. Tony, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, doing pretty well. It's getting a little bit colder and the old dark nights creeping earlier, but the racing's been absolutely sensational in recent weeks.
Yeah, thrills and spills last week for sure. And the gold collar, to an extent, blown wide open, but we've still got an odds-on favourite in the final. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe. Jump on to the comment section. Get involved with us, whether you like your horse racing, golf, ground racing, football. We've got you covered here on the Racing Post YouTube channel. Remember to smash that notification bell as well as subscribe, so when we upload, you will know. Right, let's jump straight into it then, Tony. We are going to tackle the £10,000 gold collar at Hove. It is the final on Sunday afternoon. Before we get into the draw and the betting, let's have a look at what happened, what unfolded in last week's three semi-finals. Now, the first semi was billed as box office, the Derby champion against the irrepressible Proper Heiress. I think was unbeaten down at Hove coming into this. However, that has changed and they've both been eliminated. It was Slick Sentinel in trap 6, Noelle in trap 5, 29.08 the winning time here. A bit of a squeeze up on the inside, and those around the outside took full advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Slick Sentinel, he's traded blows with a cream throughout his career. He went deep in the Derby, and the time tells you it was a good run, even though he's got the rubber to green. There was a racing room was at a premium on the inside around the early bends, but Slick Sentinel's chucked himself around the turns out wide, got a bit of daylight, and he's shown what he's capable of, Dave, when he gets to the front. And you've got to take your hat off to Paul Young's Noelle, also qualifying, because Proper Heiress was on the case throughout, but held on well for second spot.
Yeah, both Proper Heiress, and it was difficult to see, but Droopy's plunge as well, pulling up trees, the pair of them as expected, but both knocked out. Speaking to trainer Patrick Janssens about Slick Sentinel, the dog's into another final. Yes, he's wide, and he's a proper wide as well. Only once in his career, and all the competitions he's been entered in, has he not made the final, and that was the Derby, and he got to the semi-final. So a proper competition dog.
Yeah, he is indeed. I mean, he ran in the Yorkshire Derby, obviously behind Romeo Tomcat recently. But yeah, he's one of those clever dogs. He sort of like looks after himself, and he's fast enough to take advantage and exploit any jostling. I suppose a few connections would have probably wished this was over 515 metres, and there might not have been such hard luck stories, Dave.
Yep, short run to the turn, of course. Speaking of Romeo Tomcat, he was bidding for a 10th win on the spin in semi-final number 2. And once again, superb. 28.70 out of trap 6. Just managed to clear at the turn. Antigua Kestrel staying on well for second. 6 over 1. 10 on the spin. The Yorkshire Derby, the Premier Greyhound Racing Kent Derby. This dog is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, since he's turned 2 years of age, he's absolutely matured into a proper dog. He's got it all. He's got the early, he's got the middle, and he sees out the distance really well. On a real roll at the moment. Yorkshire Derby winner, Kent Derby winner, and looks a worthy favourite to win this particular race, Dave, because, as I say, at the moment, I know he does edge across, but he's brave at the bend, and he's 34, 35 kilo frame. He can ride a bump.
Yeah, starts, stays. He's got a big engine. Beyond this, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but trainer Patrick Janssens has just sort of said this is a Derby dog for next year. And, come next year's summer, with whether it's going to be, we think it's going to be at Toaster over the 500 metres. This dog is going to be tough to keep out the frame because he's such an all-rounder. And
exactly that. When he was a pup, he suffered a couple of shock reversals and looked a bit green. As I say, since he's turned 2, that's when he's really started to develop into a proper dog. And I think any track draw, don't bother the dog, Dave. He's just a dog that's absolutely flourishing at the moment. And to say he's the one to beat going for the 11 timer.
Indeed, we'll get to the final. Of course, a little bit of derby chat that might stir the comments section whether it's going to be Dunstall Park or Toaster. Get involved. We'll read out comments next week if you've got a view on where next year's derby should be. They are the two tracks that have shown an interest and submitted bids. Right, semi-final number 3, Droopy String in track 3, 29.49. Managed to get the price-wise pick through here as well. Racket Hall Brook. Keep your eyes on track 4. Headford Dane on the inside was the odds-on favourite. And the 4-dog did some running just to qualify. But a local charge here. Droopy String doing the business.
Yeah, all action from the off for Droopy String. Connections knew they needed a slick exit from their pride and joy, and they got one. And as I say, this 500 metres, you can nick it. You can nick a race from the front, whatever track you race at. And all credit to Carl Gardner's charge. As I say, he's done some really decent fractions, even in some of his graded races, 348s, 350s. He's pretty reliable at the boxes, Dave, and he's taken his chance well. Racket Brute, I know he's a dog you've always been a fan of ever since he ran in the Puppy Derby at Monmore. He's a dog that picks up the pace in the second half of the race, and as you say, he's run an absolute blinder. He ran well in the first round, and this was another good effort.
Yeah, big fan. Always be a big fan of dogs with big engines. And this dog has got a huge engine as well. Right then, let's move on to the final and see how the draw has worked out. It will be the 4:53 at Hove on Sunday afternoon, live on the Premier Greyhound Racing Service. Racket Hall Brute has bagged track 1, 14-1. Droopy Stringer, we just saw doing the business for local trainer Carl Gardner's 20s. Antigua Kestrel 11-2 for Kevin Hutton. Noelle is the 33-1 outsider for Paul Young. Then we've got Romeo Tomcat for Patrick Jansen's 4-9. And Patrick also sends out Slick Sentinel in the stripes at 6-1. What say you, Tony Bullen?
Should anything be 33s in this? I think that's a bit insulting to the outsider, because I wouldn't want to lay anything at 33. I mean, 5's the one to beat, but he's going to have to ride his luck around the first couple of bends. If he gets round unscathed, he'll win, because he's the fastest dog in the race on current form and his current mood. But I don't know. I just think if Droopy String can show the same pace that he does to the bend, it ain't going to be as straightforward as the betting suggests. Slick Sentinel, he could get the run out wide once again, but I fear for Antigua Kestrel. I mean, he's a fast dog, Antigua Kestrel. I think if he'd have been drawn 1, you'd have only seen him around a 3-1, 7-2 chance. But will he get a run around the early bends? It's all about what 5 does. If 5 rides his luck, gets round the opening bends unscathed, he wins the race for me.
I've got quite a strong view here, because Romeo Tomcat, as Tony's rightly said, he can get the start right, get off the front, and that will be game over. But the race will be on for second, and I really, really, really like the draw of Raquel Brute here. We saw him rubbing out Headford Dane in the semi-finals last week, and I think the key to his chances might be another fast start from Droopy String, because I want the 2-dog to go bingo, lead on the inside, and Raquel Brute might just get a run round on the inside. As Tony's already mentioned, this is not the 515, this is 500 metres, so it is a shorter run to the turn. And Romeo Tomcat's just going to have to tread a little bit carefully. I think Slick Sentinel's got a great draw, because so often we see at Hove, given the camber of the bends, that dogs all kind of lean in to the row. But he's a dog that keeps wide and keeps out of trouble. We saw that in his semi-final. So I think he could run a big race. But even the place part of the 14-1 Racket Hall Brute is appealing to me. And if Romeo Tomcat doesn't get loose, then, the win part all of a sudden becomes a bit interesting as well. So I think it's a more open final than the betting suggests, but the irrepressible, incredible Romeo Tomcat looking for an 11th win on the spin, where it'd be remarkable. Talking 3 competitions, unbeaten in the manner in which he has done so far. So we look forward to that. It's the 4:53 at Hove on Sunday. And of course, you'll be able to watch that live on the PGR service. The link to the stream will be in the description below, but jump in the comments, let us know who you fancy. Is there an each way angle? Is the fav a good thing? Let us know in the comments below. Right, there is £20,000 up for grabs in this year's Premier Greyhound Racing Classic up at Sunderland. A need for speed here. This is going to be fast and furious, isn't it, Tony? The 450, long run to the corner. You don't really want a staying type here. You want an early bird.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the Sunderland's a nice run to the turn, and it does play to the strength for the early pace types. But I always find when you get competitions like this come along, something has to give. It's pure and simple. You cannot get 6 dogs round the bend at Sunderland at pace. Romeo still is a right worthy favourite. Obviously won the Yarmouth Derby, won the Steel City Cup at Sheffield. They got a trial into him in the nick of time. I think he was due to trial on the Friday, but they had to reschedule it for the Monday. Satisfactory. I didn't expect him to break the 27-second barrier first look round. I think he will now he's had that look round. Again, the heat he's in, he isn't necessarily straightforward. I don't think anything's ever straightforward at Sunderland. You've got the Salakis Sinan drawn on the immediate inside, but if he shows the pace that he's been showing in recent weeks, he's going to throw down a marker in this opening phase, Dave.
Right, well, Tony has mentioned that Romeo still is the favourite. He is 7-4 jolly. Let's have a look at the market then. East Anglian Derby champion, Steel City Cup champion, as Tony mentioned, 7-4. He is the market leader. Slingshot Poppy, 100-30. Droopy Salt is 12-1. Mina Minx is 16. Carrick Fergie, 18, alongside Jack Tavern Chief and Salakers Senan, 20-1 bar. What are your thoughts then, Tony? We've got a skinny price favourite. And markets like this, I think, are just primed for a few each way bullets. What are you doing? You sort of with the jolly? Who are you with?
No, there's not a great amount of bitches in this particular event, but I think a bitch is going to shine, and I really like this Slingshot Poppy. She came over, been trained by Pat Buckley, won a puppy event over course and distance. Since joined Brian Fairbairn at Newcastle, I know connections think a lot of her before she did what she did at Sunderland. It's a shame she didn't go in the Oaks. I think they had trouble. She weren't qualified apparently because she had run because it was an Irish trained at the time when she won the Sunderland. So I think there was a little bit of confusion.
International entry, yes.
Yeah, so they couldn't quite qualify her up in time. But if anyone's seen the videos of the sprint, just watch it. I've never seen a dog come out as quick. It was like the video paused and she was halfway down the back straight in the sprint trial. I think she'd done the clock in a 16:46, crazy time for 290 at Newcastle. But they've trialled her over 480 at Newcastle. She's done 28:20s.
Yeah, crazy.
Just crazy. She runs the track really well. I just think at the odds, I think she was a little bit bigger, so someone's obviously had a little bit of a nibble. But I just think she's a nice bitch, proper bitch, and I think she'll steal the show in this event.
Interesting. There you go. Tony going with the second favourite, clear second favourite as well. They're the big two in the market. Romeo Still and Slingshot Poppy. I'm not as bold, not as brave. I'm going for a couple of each way interests at big prices. First one, a dog that was a bigger price, and again, some of the Shrewdies have snaffled this one. Bocco's Buster, who's now as big as 20-1 still, has been bigger. East Anglian Derby finalist, good form over 2 and 4 bends, and he's got that 4-bend class, along with, huge early pace. We saw him serve it up to Shadow Storm over the 2 bends at Dunstall Park. So he can really run and move to the corner. So he's going to take some stopping. I think he can go well at 20-1. And then I mentioned you don't want to stay in type, you want a sprinting type. But Derby semi-finalist, no better feeling. I just think it's a dog that's going to probably be quite hard to keep out the frame here. And at 33-1, you don't fluke your way to a Derby semi-final, and his class might just take him deep into this event. So on the place side of things, I like Bocco's Buster and no better feeling. But next 3 Friday nights at Sunderland, the action is going to be red hot. It's going to be fast and furious over that 450, and there's £20,000 up for grabs in this year's Classic. Right, it is that time of the week for the best bets. Where we're off to, Tony?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Hove on Sunday. They had a heats of a Coral Dual Distance Trophy final running alongside the main event, and I couldn't believe the price of moving force. I know he was dropping back in distance, having run over the 575 at Romford, but his exploits in that big event at Romford were tremendous with me. And Harry was 11-4. I don't know. There must have been a few Shrewdies that wanted to take him on, but he did the business in style over the 500 metres. And this is over 515 metres now, the final. That's only going to play to his strengths. I know Patrick Yancey's got a nice progressive bitch in Slick Skylark, who's really got the taste for success in recent weeks. But if with a clear run, I just think Moving Force will have too much ammo, and that's the nap in the 4:16 on Sunday, Dave, at Hove.
Okay, Tony going for Hove, the chief support, of course, to the gold collar. Well, strap yourselves in because I'm going to go in the gold collar, and a dog I've already mentioned this week. 14-1 Racket Hall Brute is mad, if you ask me. Just the place part of the price is real be in here for an each-way wager. Racket Hall Brute 14-1 to win this year's Coral Gold Collar. All eyes, of course, going to be on Romeo Tomcat. He's got a great chance to make it 3 competitions in a row and 11 on the spin unbeaten. But I think the 500-metre trip is a leveller. And if he doesn't cut loose, this race is going to be wide open and tucked away on the inside with a big engine. And, of course, the champion trainer, Mark Wallace, in his corner. I think we'll see a big run from Racket Hall Brute, who looks a little bit overpriced for me at 14-1. I thought he'd be, given the draw, probably half that price, and he isn't. So an each-way play on Racket Hall Brute in the 4:53 at Hove on Sunday afternoon. The feature race, the £10,000 Coral Gold Collar. Right, Tony, that is it then. That is a wrap for this week. We'll be back to tackle the Classic semi-finals next week. You out there, do remember to get involved. Jump in the comments. Let us know. I've put it out there, haven't I? Toaster versus Dunstall Park. Which one do you fancy for the derby next year? But we want to know gold collar and classic views as well. Put your naps in the comments as well, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook. Gamble responsibly, and we'll see you next time.